All right, we've got a new battle royale hitting the scene, and this thing is fast-paced. If you guys are looking for high verticality with fast movement, amazing gunplay mixed in with abilities, and a fine little twist at the end, then Hyperscape's definitely for you. Now, I created this guide here to give you the basic fundamentals to get you off the ground floor and get you into the fight. The four main things that we're going to cover in this guide are going to be keybinds, mobility. I'm going to break down each ability and every single gun stat to help get you guys started, and everything will be time-stamped to make it easier for you. Now, in the future, we're going to go over some more advanced tips and tricks to help get you guys ahead of the competition. So if there's anything that this guide doesn't show you, or just something you want me to cover in the future, make sure you put it down in the comments below. And of course, turn on notifications so you know when that video goes live. And of course, if you ever want to join in on our live streams, you can come over to twitch.tv/iLangston. The link will be in the description below. Let us know you're from YouTube. Just come by and say what's up. We're going to be making a ton of content around Hyperscape in the future, so I hope these guides help you out, and hope you enjoy.
Good shit.
All right, guys, let's dive straight into keybinds. When it comes down to first-person shooters, there's one piece of advice that I got a long time ago that's always stuck with me, and that's try to keep your keybinds as consistent as possible across all titles. Typically, games share a lot of keybinds that are very comparable. Obviously, WASD, move forward, back, left, and right. Stuff like that are always going to be the same, but there are some buttons that tend to vary across games, like crouch. Sometimes it'll be C or something like that. And one of my favorite things to do is put it on a button that doesn't take your fingers off WASD. If you can keep your fingers on WASD, you can move around consistently more often, allowing other fingers to do extra work like crouching and sliding and stuff like that. So for me, I have always used crouch and slide buttons as alt, left alt. What that does is allows my thumb to become dual purpose without removing my fingers off WASD. That's really key in this game because it allows you to slide, jump with your thumb while still being able to move left and right with your ring finger and your index finger, using your middle finger for forward and back. Very, very key, very crucial. Try it out. Let me know what you think. All right, a lot of these keybinds are very straightforward. Walk, we don't really use all that much because this game's very, very fast-paced. You don't want to be stuck in place for too long. Shoot, aim, reload, all those pretty basic. Interact. All of these you can kind of move to your liking to whatever you like to use. But some of the main ones that I would focus on is making sure that you have instant melee keybound. Now mine's keybound to 0, which is on my mouse. And this allows me to do a quick melee, whether I have a gun or not. It'll allow you just to swing your axe or whatever your melee weapon is on a whim without having to switch to your melee weapon and then switch back to your primary weapon. It'll put your weapon away for you, swing, and then pull your weapon back out, okay? Very, very key for getting into buildings because you have to break windows, you have to break doors. Sometimes you want to swing at a crate. Stuff like that will help you out in the long run. All right, now that you have your instant melee set up, the next thing that I would set up are going to be your comms. If you're not able to use your microphone, you want to have your ping system available. I have keybound mine to my middle mouse button. I think that's default, but that allows you to ping enemies, to just ping items, hacks, guns, stuff like that for your teammates if you can't use your mic. All right, now once you have that set up, the next thing you want to focus on is making sure that your hacks are easily accessible. Q and E are usually a pretty good spot to leave those because you have your index and ring finger to reach up to those. But if you want to get those away from your WASD keys, letting your left hand do all the work for movement, you can put them on your mouse or something like that. As long as they're easily accessible. There's only 2, so just build up a muscle memory around that. All right, the last thing that is very, very important is going to be your inventory wheel. Make sure you have this set up and easily accessible as well, because what this allows you to do is assign abilities and weapons to slots that you already have muscle memory around, right? So in a lot of games, let's say that, for instance, you are using 2 abilities, right? One of which is movement, the other of which is utility, right? Let's say you're using armor and teleport, and let's say you're also using a close range weapon and a long range weapon, right? You want to know where those are in your mind without having to look down at the bottom of your screen and stuff like that. So this inventory wheel, if you have it keybound, allows you to move stuff around to keep that muscle memory consistent. Okay, so for me, I always have long range on 2, short range on 1 for my weapons, and I always have mobility on E and my utility on Q. So what you want to do is be able to swap those efficiently and effectively as you pick them up. That way I don't have to look down and know that teleport is on E. I can just use my muscle memory and I can teleport, keeping my mobility as E in my head instead of what ability I have and where it's located. Very, very key, very important. Make sure you get that set up. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is going to be movement. Movement is super crucial in this game because it can make or break a fight, not only in engaging, but disengaging as well. Now, a few key tips and tricks that I've had to keep people moving, and something that people constantly ask about, is the slide ability, right? So it's kind of like Apex Legends in the sense where you can slide to kind of boost yourself forward a little bit and also change up the way that your character is moving across the screen whenever you're being tracked by an enemy or something like that. Or it's just something to kind of break the monotony of just running in a straight line, right? So sliding is super key. But what a lot of people are telling me is that they're having trouble consistently sliding, right? Sliding back to back. And one thing that I think is happening is the sprint is not kicking in. You have to have that forward momentum from a sprint to slide. Otherwise, you're just gonna crouch. I'm still holding sprint right now, but my guy is just crouching because I'm not letting him re-engage that sprint so that way I can slide again. So focus, come into the training ground and just focus on keeping that sprint going. That way you can consistently slide back to back. Now, a little tip that I've figured out is that that forward momentum doesn't cancel when you jump, right? So as long as you're jumping, you're moving as fast as you would be when you're sprinting, which allows you to slide. So what you can do is as you build a sprint, slide, and then jump at the end, right? So slide, jump, slide, jump, slide, jump, slide, jump. Now add this slide just as you hit the ground, no matter what you're doing. As you hit the ground, hit that slide button, okay? This is gonna allow you to keep that forward momentum going, and it'll also allow you to add in cool little things like changing your direction and stuff like that. We'll get into some advanced mobility and movement in future videos. I'm gonna go into a match and I'll show you guys how to navigate buildings and stuff like that to move fast and effectively to disengage or to chase down enemies. But for right now, just come in here and just focus on jumping right at the end of a slide and then adding a slide just as you're about to hit the ground. Now, another reason that this is super important to know how to hit the ground and slide is because it breaks that movement up, right? So let's say that you go up in the air and come back down as if you were using like this slam ability right here. We're gonna get into these abilities in just a second, but if you were mid-slam, this ability right here throws you up in the air and slams you down on a target or a location that you're trying to get to, which is designed to be like a stun on the enemy. But the downside to it is it also renders you useless for a full second. So if you were to slam and land on the enemy, you can't move for that full second as that slam animation is going on. But the one thing that we figured out is that as you hit the ground, if you slide, then that forward momentum continues. So if you were to slam, see how I slammed right here, but I slid over here? You can slam, and just as you're about to hit the ground, hit that slide button, and it won't render you stuck in place. So slam. See that? There's a lot of particles and stuff going on, but I slammed here and I slid over there, and you can throw in that jump at the end to keep that momentum going, right? So slam, come down, hit the ground, slide away. All right, now the last piece of movement is going to be vaulting. This one's fairly straightforward. As long as your character is within a certain distance of a ledge, he's going to grab onto it if you're holding W and just vault up to it. And this is super key when it comes to disengaging from a fight or removing yourself from a situation that you know you probably shouldn't be in, like a 1v3 or something like that while your team's halfway across the map. Being able to scale a building and change your positioning, change your location, and change your direction of movement to be able to just vault and climb away and disengage. So try and practice these things, try and perfect them, and let me know how they work for you in the games. All right, so the next thing that I want to cover is going to be utility. In this game, currently there are 9 hacks, and these are your abilities to be able to engage and disengage within fights, and we'll go through them one by one, just to kind of give you a rundown of what you're looking at. First one here is going to be your wall. This is pretty straightforward. It's going to put a huge wall up that can be a barrier. It can be a engaging and disengaging mechanism that you can use. But basically, it's going to create a large wall that has a health pool that you can use to create a division between you and the enemy, which you can use to draw them in closer. If you're using short range weapons like shotguns and stuff like that, you can put the wall up and bring them in. You can use this as a tool to close off entry points, exit points, to keep enemies in or out. And you can also use it as an elevation tool. What's really cool is if you put it at your feet, not only will it raise, but you'll raise with it. Last thing to note about this wall is it has a health pool of about 250 health. Not very effective to shoot it with weapons, but if you were to use your melee weapon, it only takes about 5 hits to break this one down. So if somebody walls you off and you need to get in, I would just whip your melee out or use the quick melee ability and just break it down. Takes a few seconds and you can move on. Okay, so the next hack that I would focus on is going to be the mine. This is a homing mine that has a diameter around the mine itself that if an enemy walks within it, it'll chase it. So what it allows you to do is place a seeker mine either at a distance or up close, which will act as a really good deterrence or an aggression tool that you can use in any fight. One little tip that I like to use with this is to counteract other abilities like invisibility, which we're going to get into, because it will chase the enemy for you, allowing you to keep track of them in a very high, fast-paced moving world. All right, the next ability is going to be invisibility. This one's super straightforward, but there are a few things to note when using invisibility. The way this one works is when you use the ability, you turn invisible, which is great for not only disengaging from fights, but also sneaking up on enemies if you want to catch them off guard and get a good advantage point that way. But one thing to note is that if you're using it as a disengage point, you do still make sound. That woo 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 noise that you heard, that woo woo, you know? You hear that? The enemy can also hear that noise and they can hear your footsteps. So keep that in mind. I would try to keep as much air hang time as possible when using invisibility, which will make you harder to track because they won't be able to see your footsteps. Okay. All right, and another pretty straightforward ability is going to be your reveal effect. This hack is designed to reveal enemies that are in a certain space that is a directional tool. So let's say that you were approaching a building and you want to just try to see what all's in there. Let's say you heard something, but you're not sure where. Maybe people are camping in the building. Whatever the case may be, this allows you to project a reveal effect straight forward, creating these triangle effects that are marking the enemies for you. It can be a super useful tool for someone on your team to have reveal, just to get a little scope out of a building as you're approaching it. All right, the next ability that I want to run down is going to be heal. This ability is good not only for you, but for your teammates as well, because the way this one works is similar to the mine. When you place it, it creates a circle that if you or your teammates walk into, you gain a heal over time effect that can be both used within a fight or after a fight is over. So this is something that maybe you can have a teammate have on deck at all times to kind of help aid in a fight. If you have better gunplay or something like that, they can be the utility character. Very, very key. And the next ability is going to be the armor ability. This one is super, super, super strong right now because it makes you invulnerable. This is an ability that you can pop and still have access to all of your mobility. Slide, you can jump, you can slam, and you don't take any damage whatsoever. It doesn't break. It is literally a time that you are invincible. So you can have someone on your team run that and be the tank for the entire group. There's so many different ways to utilize the armor ability. I'm really excited to see how this one unfolds because of how strong it is. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments, because it's definitely one of a controversial topic right now. So, all right, and to follow up the shield is going to be the ball hack. This one is a great mobility tool if you're looking to scale a building or if you just want to disengage from a fight. This is something that'll give you a little bit of an extra boost in your shield, as well as movement mobility, because it literally puts you into a ball. This is one that you can bounce around with and kind of avoid fights. The difference between this one and the shield is, well, obviously the verticality, but this one is breakable. So this one, you can stay in the ball for quite a long time, but enemies can shoot it and break you out of it pretty quickly. So keep that in mind based on the direction that you're moving, that if you start getting shot at, you might want to start looking for a ledge or something to latch onto. All right, these last two abilities are probably my two most favorite abilities in the game so far, mainly because I'm a big advocate for mobility. I think movement in this game wins fights. So when it boils down to these last two, teleport It's about as straightforward as it gets. It will literally teleport you the direction that you are aiming. It gives you a nice little boost towards the end, and the more you level it up, the faster the cooldown is. But this is a really great way to mid-fight be able to just change direction on a whim, or to scale buildings too. Like if you need to get to the top of a building, you can teleport right up there. Super, super key, very, very strong. And then the last ability is going to be Slam. Now this is one that I showed you in the movement phase that you can use both offensively and defensively. Offensively, it throws you up in the air and it slams you down on the ground, which can act as a stun and a damage on impact ability as well. So that's something that you can use to increase your DPS. You can use to knock people off of buildings. You can knock people away from your teammates. You can use it as just a jumping ability too. As long as you cancel that animation by using a melee weapon, by ADSing, by switching your weapons, by shooting, anything that will cancel the jump like that allows it just to be like a little boost in the air if you want it to be that way. And I just think that these are probably two of the most necessary tools in the game. Try to have at least one of these on you and then combine them with some sort of kit like a shield, a heal if you want to help your teammates out. Invisibility is a great way to combine movement if you need to disengage. So if you need to get out of a fight and then go invisible, there's so many possibilities when it comes down to combining hacks and stuff like these to be both engaging and disengaging in fights. So you guys try these out. Let me know what kind of combinations you like most, what abilities you like most. Tell me what you guys think about their strengths, weaknesses, and stuff like that. Let's talk about it in the comments. I'd love to get some valid feedback that we can provide to Ubisoft and hopefully improve the game, man. Maybe we can see a lot more balance. Maybe we can see a lot more some of these can be boosted up, some of them can be drawn down, whatever the case may be. You guys let me know. Let me know what you guys think. All right. All right, and last but not least is going to be the gunplay in this game. There are 9 weapons to choose from, so let's go ahead and dive into each one individually, and we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each one, and we'll break down some of the specs for you guys. All right, first gun that I want to talk about is going to be the pump action shotgun called the Mammoth. Now, this gun is super dangerous up close, and it works off of a pellet system. It has a 5-round mag, and each one delivers a certain amount of pellets that will impact the target doing different amount of damage. So my recommendation with this gun would be to aim for center mass, because up close, if you can hit every pellet on the head, you only do 105 damage. So my recommendation again, I would just aim for center mass and get a good 70 damage, 75 damage, whatever you can hit, and just roll with that. Because 2 shots, whether you hit the head or the body, it really doesn't matter. So I would just aim for the body. It's not until you level this thing up to level 5 that you get 120 damage to the head, which is 1-shot potential. But the best way that I've seen and the most effective way is just to crack them in the body 2 good times and be done with it. All right, and the next gun that I'm going to talk about is the heavy pistol called the Riot 1. This is a gun at its base, starts out with a 6-round clip and has a pretty high rate of fire. It does 26 damage to the body, and it will do 39 damage to the head. I don't ADS too much with this gun because the red outline to the body tends to blend in with the reticle as well. So it gets kind of hard to see what you're aiming for whenever you're moving at a Mach speed and they're moving at Mach speed. So I tend to try to hit fire as much as possible to try to be most effective with this gun. All right, this next gun is also a pistol, but this one's very unique. It's called the D-Tap, and it is an automatic targeting pistol. What's really cool and unique about this gun is as long as the enemy's within this TV screen of a reticle, the bullets will auto track, doing 5 damage per shot to the chest, 6 damage once it's fully maxed out. And one thing to note about this gun is the ADS on this gun increases your rate of fire by about 15%. So you can run, shoot, ADS, and you don't have to be super accurate with this gun. So it's very, very good for beginners. And it's a nice little tool to kind of dwindle down your opponent as they're running away from you and just flying all over the map with teleports and stuff like that. So give that one a try. It's a really, really fun gun to use. I like it a lot. It got a buff in this recent patch. Let me know what you guys think about it. It's really cool. Okay, now these next 3 guns are going to be the explosive class in this game. We got the rocket launcher, the grenade launcher, and the plasma launcher, and we'll dive into each one. My favorite of all of them is going to be the Skybreaker, which is a single shot energy cannon, aka the rocket launcher. But what's really unique about this gun and not really talked about too much is how the damage works. So one thing to note is that the damage on this gun will be greater the farther the target is away from you. What I mean by that is if I shoot a target up close, I'm doing a low amount of damage as opposed to shooting a target far away. The damage output and the spread of that projectile is larger the longer that projectile flies. So give that one a try. It's very good when partnered up with some of these mobility tools like the dash and the slam and stuff like that, where you can jump really high and create distance while your target's still on the ground and shoot them. And it also doesn't require perfect accuracy either, because you can shoot it and get a good spread on multiple targets. You don't have to hit them directly. The spread itself will do the damage, which is really, really cool. I love having this on a team. Try it out and let me know what you guys think about that one. All right, and next up is going to be the explosive projectile launcher, aka the grenade launcher. This one is called the Salvo, and boy, is this thing dangerous indoors. Okay, if you get this thing in an apartment complex, in a staircase, whatever the case may be, its base level won't kill somebody with one clip, but you and a teammate together with one of these can definitely put a team down pretty quickly inside of a building. So it does about 22 damage per shot, but 5 rounds is not going to be enough to kill somebody with 120 health, so you probably want something to back it up, like a secondary gun or something like that. But if you level this thing up, you can definitely kill people with one clip. So try this thing out, take it inside, keep it in the buildings, and I promise you'll put some people down pretty quick with it. All right, and the last one in the explosive class is going to be the Komodo. This is a plasma launcher, but it's very, very similar to the Salvo. The only difference is this one does not bounce. At base, it's got a 4-round mag and similar damage output to the Salvo with 22 damage per shot, and it is an explode on impact projectile. This one by itself, again, you'll probably want to level up if you're going to take on a single target at one time, but it's really good when paired up with a secondary weapon that you can pop a couple shots, put some damage on a team, and then switch to like an assault rifle or something like that, or a shotgun to finish off your target. Or if you just want to do damage, back away, come back in, do some more damage, back away, stuff like that. This gun has very good damage output potential and is really, really lethal on a team. Super big fan of the Komodo. Love the plasma, the single shot Skybreaker and the Salvo. These are super key to have on a team if you want to be able to deliver high damage at one time to a team that can be super aggressive. So I would recommend having at least one of these on your team at all time. All right. And of course, no first-person shooter would be complete without a sniper rifle. This is called the Protocol, which is a bolt-action rifle with a 3-round clip. It is a one-shot potential when fully maxed out, but at its base, it is going to do 75 damage to the head, 50 damage to the body. It is hit scan. Very, very scary in a game where you are using abilities to launch yourself up in the air and you have hang time and hover time, and you've got people on buildings with these things. This gun can be super, super dangerous. It's not very lethal at a low level, so you want to level it up a couple times. But once you get this thing maxed out, you can one-tap people to the head. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to 2 or 3 tap people with this gun. But it's really good to have one on a team because you have not only the ability to take people down from a long distance, but you can scan long distances too. So I would highly recommend having a sniper on the team. Super, super effective. All right, the last 2 guns I want to talk about are the assault class, including a 4-barrel Gatling gun called the Hexfire and a full auto assault rifle called the Ripper. This Hexfire is probably one of the most popular guns in the game because the melting potential that a team can output is super, super high. This thing does 4 damage to the head per bullet and 3 damage to the body per bullet with a 150 round mag. So you get 3 of these shooting at one person and you can melt them pretty good. The major drawbacks to it right now is at a distance. Sometimes bullets will miss, which will limit the melting capability, not by much, but when you got someone flying in the air, it can be kind of hard to hit them with bullet time and stuff like that. But also, whenever you ADS, you move really slow, yielding you more susceptible to damage. But that's where the Ripper, which is the full auto assault rifle, kind of thrives because it is pretty comparable in melting capability to the Hexfire. but does more damage per bullet with a lower rate of fire. So you can be a little bit more accurate and has a much better distance, right? So you got 16 to the head, 11 to the body, with pretty good mobility. Hit fire potential is not the best, but if you can get a team of 3 ADS with some of these things, you can melt pretty effectively, especially if you land those headshots. So give those 2 a try. Highly recommend having these on the team, just because of the ability to put a team on the defensive instead of offensive and change the fight. But that's it when it comes down to gunplay. There are going to be a lot of balancing changes coming up and a lot of new patch notes that we're going to cover in the future. So make sure you have notifications on and you're subscribed to the channel to get notified whenever we go live with those. I'll try to keep as up to date as possible. And of course, let me know what you guys think. I'm always curious how you guys like these guns. What's your favorite combo? Do you like to do shoddy sniper? Are you big on the explosion classes? What's your favorite go-to weapon? Let me know. And as always, man, make sure you guys are getting connected with the community. Come join us over on Twitch if you want to watch us live. And enjoy the game, man. It's out, free to play. It's going to be on console at some point, and I've been having a blast with it. So that's it, man. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys around. Peace.